You're in the VIP section of Black Women in Radio, the podcast, a decade of the new woman. I'm your host, Felicia Love, along with our special guest, Tammi Mack.
Atlanta is home of Black radio. Y'all got so many Black radio stations out there.
It really is. It really is. I tell you. And you came through Atlanta at one point, didn't you?
I've never been in Atlanta.
You've not been in Atlanta?
Unfortunately, I've always wanted to be, but I think actually I've always wanted to be in Charlotte. For some reason or another. I've always wanted to do Charlotte radio.
It is
and
on
Atlanta,
the coast.
Yeah. And Atlanta never happened for me. I don't think I was around enough to even think about Atlanta. I just went from Houston to LA.
From Houston to LA and stayed in LA.
It was some in betweens, I guess. Yeah, it was definitely some in betweens.
Well, it's so funny. I don't know about you, but once I graduated from college, I was on this linear timeline. So I thought, once you graduate from college, A, B, C, D, our careers are like,
yeah. All over the place, for sure.
And if you're not comfortable being flexible, radio entertainment is not the move. No. It is not the move. And you know what? I'm fascinated with your career. I am absolutely fascinated.
Y'all name names.
Rodney Peete and
Holly Robinson.
It was her foundation.
Oh yeah. All right. Yes.
Holly Rod.
They were honoring Trump.
This I had to buy because God, he said, look, you want titties or you want booty? I said, well, just give me the booty, I'll buy the titties.
Where the hell is Swiss at? I got 3 boys. And I'll be damned if any of my babies say, hey, Dad, I done went to the salon with mother and I'll come back doing this here.
Well, Abby Lee never wanted to meet me. That's the kiki, honey. She knew she couldn't live out this false sense of what she had created.
What comedian said something to you?
Jimmy Walker from Good Times.
Not JJ.
He is a nasty motherfucker.
Bernie Sanders so old that when Moses parted the Red Sea, he was on the other side swinging his legs fishing. Booty Judge. First of all, he gay, and his name is Booty Judge. I got a problem with that.
Thank you very much.
Let me just say this.
Well, thank you.
I love following your page. I love your commentary. I love your gutsy commentary, your much needed commentary.
For those that don't know, I host a radio show in LA, and I'm always on the scene when it comes to elections, when it comes to riots, the death of an artist, or the death of Black men at the hands of the police or the hands of 2 white men that simply feel entitled. Tomorrow is no different. I am stopping the music on the Tammi Mack Show from 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific in honor of the city of Minneapolis and George Floyd. We need a place to express ourselves. Our hearts are hurting. We're full of anger. We're full of rage, and we need a platform to let it out. I will be that platform for you tomorrow. So if you're not in LA, you can log on to kjlhradio.com and listen live, or you can download our app wherever you are and take it wherever you go. KJLH. That's the app.
And I just love the fact that you have demonstrated to Black women in radio versatility. It's just, if you have a dream, you can achieve it. And what I'd love to know from you is what made you try the other avenues of entertainment outside of radio?
I have always had a passion for acting. So that has always been my focus, believe it or not. And so I typically refer to radio as my husband, and I refer to acting as my side piece. Because radio for me has been there through thick and thin, and it has had my back, and it's never failed me. And the acting portion comes and it goes, and it's fickle, and it's good to me one day, and then the next thing it's really bad to me. It abuses me, but then it makes me feel really good sometimes. So my focus has always been acting. I went to grad school for a degree in acting. So I have a master's of fine arts in theater from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And that was my studies. And all through elementary, middle school, high school, my whole life, I've always been fascinated with acting and taking classes and courses, and oftentimes wondered how I would get to a point to where it could actually become a profession. Because when you don't know anybody who does something, or you haven't seen a demonstration of you being able to make it from where you are, it is kind of hard to navigate to figure out how it's going to happen for you. I've never thought it wouldn't happen. I've just always wondered how it would happen. And radio has certainly guided me in that direction and in that path. So I think after I got fired from Birmingham, Alabama, off of the morning show there, which was called the Home Team Morning Show, I got fired there, and I had a choice to go home. Well, I guess it wasn't a choice. I had to go back home. I had to go back to Houston. I had nothing, you know, and I went back to Houston, and I tried for some jobs at Magic 102 and 97.9 The Box, and just different stations there that I'd grown up with, that I'd known all my life. I know the landscape of Houston. I graduated from one of the top high schools. It's my city from the north to the east to the south to the west. So I just knew that I would be getting a job in Houston. And Mad Hatter and I talked a couple of times about doing his morning show, and that could have happened. But I think something hit me one day and said, no, you've got to go. You have got to go to Los Angeles. And what's funny is my family is so supportive, Felicia. When I got to Los Angeles, my mother called and said, I was wondering when you were going to LA.
Wow.
When she said, when you said you were going to move to Birmingham to do radio, I thought, what? Birmingham? What's she doing in Birmingham? Okay, it's her life. I'm not going to distract it. I'm going to let her do her thing, but I could have swore it would have been LA. But she never told me that until I got to LA. And then I had my aunt and uncle who was like, it's about time you got to LA. So I never had that thing that most people who move to LA have, where your family's like, well, how you gonna get a job? Or what you gonna do? Well, you know, that whole thing, like, I'm not gonna support you. Don't ask me for no money. Like, I've never had that. When I moved to LA, my family was so excited. And they were like, it's about time. And mind you, I was in, I guess, my early 20s, but I'm still in a position where I don't want my family supporting me. So I came out here with absolutely no job, and they were still excited about it. Like I didn't, most people think I moved to LA because I had a radio opportunity here. That is not so. I was in the dumps for at least the first 3 years of my LA life. I mean, I worked at Universal Studios, pitching Doritos. I did cigarette surveys outside of LA. I was substituting at high-end, not substituting, I was a receptionist at high-end, like, private schools for celebrities. So it was not an easy road. I was doing extra work. Anything you could think of, I was trying to make it happen so that I could just pay my rent out here, because the rent is too damn high.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of me professionally acting once I moved to LA. But I had done a couple of regional commercials while I was in Birmingham. Because after I got fired, I got agents in Atlanta. I got an agent in Birmingham. I got an agent in Wilmington, North Carolina, because that's where a lot of acting work was. So I researched to find out where they were shooting down south, and I got agents down south. And I used to drive back and forth from Memphis, because my fiance at the time was living in Memphis. So I used to drive back and forth from Memphis to Atlanta, from Memphis to Wilmington, just to go on auditions. My most exciting audition was getting a call back for the Ray movie, Jamie Foxx's Ray movie.
Wow.
And I didn't get it, but they actually, when I saw the movie, they took the character out altogether. So that made me feel better.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I couldn't get it. They took it out.
Makes sense.
Right. So yeah, acting has always been on the forefront of my mind, and radio has just facilitated me financially and creatively to be able to, to have that luxury of making my dreams come true.
That is so awesome. I love hearing people's stories. They are just so fascinating to me because you're laying down history, not even knowing that you are, because it's your life, and you're navigating it the best way you can. But it's absolutely a historical path for many people who are coming up behind you. I know I tried the agency thing, and I was told by an agent here in Atlanta, we don't accept submissions. We look for you. In other words, we look for you. You don't look for us. And that's what I said. Oh,
well, I'll just have to make you come look for me. It's not a problem.
I ever tried after that, but your story reminds me of Ryan Seacrest's. I worked at Star 94 for a little bit here in Atlanta, and he and I were on weekend shows. And I remember distinctly coming in, he's packing up his stuff. I'm getting ready to go on the air behind him. And he goes, Felicia, I'm going to LA. I'm like, what? What do you mean? This is a piece of cake here in Chicago. In Atlanta. This is where we should be. He's like, Atlanta doesn't have anything for me. It's too small. It's too small. And I tell you what, it wasn't 2 years. That man just blew up. And I was like, I should have went with him. I should have gone.
Well, Ryan Seacrest, he has a fantastic story as well, because he does come from radio.
Yes.
And he even, once he came out to LA, he wasn't this big, gigantic star. He did do radio, but he was, like you said, much like me, doing afternoons at a station in Atlanta. I mean, at a station in Los Angeles that nobody really listened to. But he was in those hosting auditions. He was auditioning every day and every night. And I know that I think Merv Griffin was a mentor to him, which is huge.
That is huge. Talk about
it's
landing.
Huge when you're talking about mentors and paving the way. So it's no wonder that Ryan Seacrest has produced so many hit shows and taking his career in a totally different behind the scenes kind of way. And I look forward to doing that one day.
And I look forward to you doing it, because we need that kind of connection. Just as you were talking about Ryan's story, I'm thinking we don't have big avenues like that for us. And gosh, it's time. It is so time. Even with a lot of women who are in radio wanting to transition to do other things, the confidence level is on the floor, because we're thinking that, we don't know who to ask. Just like with me, asking, giving a submission to an agent, and the agent saying, you don't look for me, I look for you. So when you don't know, you don't try. So I am looking forward to the time when you are in those seats, and many more behind us are in those seats, because, I was just thinking about the Black Lives Matter movement on Netflix. Now, it could have been there the whole time. I don't know. But they now have a Black Lives Matter segment on Netflix.
No, it's not been there the whole time.
That's what I'm saying. And so I just discovered it.
For 4 months, I have watched everything on Netflix.
And it wasn't there?
It has not been there, no.
Okay, that's good to know, because I'm thinking, have I been living under a rock? I didn't know this existed. So now
I do want to say this about the agent that you submitted to. What that agent said holds true today. And I don't know how long ago that was. It also probably, to a certain degree, held true then. But today, it holds even more so true that agencies don't accept many submissions. They look for talent because the platforms are so readily available, where you can just log on and find out who's hot, who's popping, and what they do, and if they do it well, and if they have a fan base. So they technically don't need submissions today. All they have to do is click on an Instagram and find out who's doing monologues, find out who's doing cooking shows, find out who's doing shows about women in radio, and look at your following and say, I want to talk to her. She may have something. She may be on to something. So I do believe that holds true. Your agent that you submitted to was a lot nicer than the first one I ever had. She basically said I had to get rid of my Jerry curl. She didn't know what that was in my head. So you know how long ago this was,
right?
Jerry curl. She's like, you gotta get rid of, what's that in your hair? You gotta get rid of that stuff. What is that? Wow. It literally was wiping it off. She was like, oh, and you have a mustache. What is that? You gotta get rid of that mustache. Hairs on the side. She said, and why are you wearing those big gawky earrings? Take those earrings off. They're horrible. Wow. And I mean, she ripped me to shreds. Do you hear me, Felicia? Wow. And when we got in the car, my mom was like, you sure you want to do this?
I know. You have to have you have to be prepared mentally and emotionally for that kind of criticism.
Yeah, you really do.
Where'd you get that from? Did that come from you just being Tammi and just the way you present yourself, or did you really have to prepare yourself to be criticized? Because you get it a lot in auditions, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't know. I attribute it to some teachers that I had in my life. Sandra Shelton, who was my high school theater teacher, who always told us the truth, no matter how hard it hurt or how much it hurt. Mm-hmm. But I won a lot of awards in high school. And so whatever it was she told me, I followed suit when it came to that critique and criticism. And then I had another journalism teacher in high school, Thelma Johnson, who she was very, very hard. She would tell me, literally, she would be like, you look like shit. Oh like my. Literally in high school. And it's hard to believe that those kinds of people care about you. But for some reason, I found an affinity for both Thelma Johnson and Sandra Shelton. They made me better. They made me grow. They made me live a life of excellence at every turn. And they also made me numb to harsh criticism. So it doesn't bother me at all. And, you take it or you don't. Today, I believe that there are so many ways to make it. There are so many things being done. And as you know, Felicia, radio and how we present ourselves on air is not what it used to be.
It is not.
They don't have to have a beautiful voice like Portia Fox or Michelle Wright. People don't have to sound like Frankie Crocker or Tom Joyner. You just got to talk in a way that the people can receive you.
Yeah.
And whether that's conjugating verbs or not, whether that's saying ain't, is, gon' do, this, that, it does not matter today. You could never do that back in the day. You could never do that. Mm-mm. They would correct you so much. And you had to smile when you were on air. And there were so many rules. And all those rules have been tossed. Journalism is not the same. You used to have sources when you said something about somebody or when you had some type of event. You would have to have accountability for the information you were disseminating across television. And today, you don't have to be accountable for what you're saying. You can say somebody's on crack and never even get in trouble for it.
And never get in trouble. Or say a couple of curse words and never get in trouble for it. Back then, that was a big no-no.
Yeah. I mean, to a fault, but also it's a good thing because you get to be yourself. You get to create your own. You get to build your own fan base. There's no middleman anymore. And look at all the radio hosts who have gone on now to do podcasts and become really popular, or satellite radio and become really popular. So I don't necessarily know how long our business will be around, Felicia. I really don't.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, before all of this COVID nonsense, it was evolving then. Now, even more so, because, companies have been cutting by the thousands, cutting jobs by the thousands. And, what is that going to look like, post-COVID? Are they going to hire thousands back? I don't think so.
I doubt
it's going to look totally different from what we experienced in the beginning of the year. So you're absolutely right. And YouTube is another source as well. Yeah. And there are a lot of streaming TV stations as well that are available. So you're right. There are many different platforms. And so, if you are looking for an agent or looking for a fan base, you just have to put the material out there and be consistent, even if you only have 10 people.
Agents are null and void now. I don't even think you need them. I mean, I have them, but I don't necessarily think that it's a necessity today because you have everything you need right at your fingertip.
Yes. From the camera to the apps. You're right.
Yeah, you can plug in the microphone. The sound's just crystal clear, and then you can send that information out, not to the city, not to the state, not to the nation, but the world. And you can gather fans across the earth. So, so it's a different world today, and I think that people should embrace that.
You have said a mouthful, embrace change. I know a lot of people are fighting tooth and nail about change. I'm one of them for a little bit. I do fight change a little bit and get comfortable.
I understand. I can't stand change.
It is absolutely necessary because things can get better. Speaking of getting better, one reason why I wanted to interview you is because I noticed that you're using your platform, as you always have, but you're using it even more so now with the Black Lives Matter movement to make a difference in the world. And your monologues, if I'm not laughing and with tears in my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, she explained it in a way that everybody needs to get this information. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. You're quite welcome.
I'm just saying. You can call it the master bedroom, the primary bedroom, the big bedroom, the biggest bedroom in the house, the room. All I want to do is a room, and a room. Call it whatever you want. But if you're going to give me high interest rates because I'm Black, if you're not going to finance it because I'm Black, or if you're not going to show it to me because I'm Black, or if you're not going to let me buy it because I'm Black, then I guess it was the master's room after all.
Yes, I watch them and I share them. And now that you've told me that you have a background in the arts, I know now that creating a monologue, it's pretty natural for you. What is it about that technique that is different from someone just coming on talking about an opinion? Because they are very different. Your delivery in that way is very different. It's packaged different.
I'm a storyteller, Felicia, at heart. It's why I've always wanted to be an actress. I'm very empathetic to people, and I'm non-judgmental. I've grown to learn that about me. And for those reasons, I'm a storyteller, because I believe when you're empathetic and you're non-judgmental, you can tell a story and give it its factual basis rather than putting your opinion into the story. And I guess that also comes from my journalistic side, because I believe in the truth, and that's what journalism is supposed to give you. And then theater is supposed to give you the entertaining factor of that, the thrill of it, the action, the drama of it all. And so I think when I combine those two industries together, it works really well for me. The fact that I can cohesively write a story and dramatically tell the story, the same story that I've written. So I think they bode well for me.
Well, I wanted to bring it up because for those that are listening, I wanted everyone to just tune in a little bit sharper into your technique, because it is that gets your attention. And then when you walk away from the dialogue, you've got this big, comprehensive package. You don't know what the hell just hit you.
It's funny because my girlfriend, I do monologues for my television show now. My television
I remember that on Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of formatted. Like Bill Maher and Trevor Noah now. So even my talk show on Fox Soul has taken a different turn because of the Black Lives Matter movement. I felt like I needed to speak more towards that than to just kind of be there, singing and dancing and that kind of thing. I felt like I needed a space where I spoke to and for my people. And so they allowed me to change the format up a little bit on the Tammi Mac Late Show. And so at the end of every show, I do a monologue. And I was going over a monologue with one of my girlfriends. She was like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to take it there. And she was like, I don't know if that worked or not. I said, well, I don't care if it works for you. It works for me. Yeah. But I do, my stories are normally full circle stories, because I believe in the full circle. I believe how you start is how you finish.
Yes.
And so that full circle story kind of is kind of the style that I do. I also believe in telling personal stories because everybody want to hear your business.
And it's relatable because a lot of times you're like, oh, she went through that.
So if I can get you all, engaged in my business and like, oh, what happened? Oh, her man cheated on her, and then flip the script and be like, that's why America is cheating on us right now.
Yes, exactly. So I'm feeling a little betrayed, by the way. I'm just saying.
That's kind of how I take it. I'm just putting a little strawberry soda in your medicine.
Enjoy those bubbles.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Tell me about Fox Soul. How did you come about getting a television show? That was so fascinating.
It's interesting. Before I got Fox Soul, for about a year and a half, I had been pitching television shows to networks, and no one was interested in the shows because I didn't have a social media following. And I think at the time I had about 6,000, maybe 5,500 followers on my Instagram page. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't necessarily interested in social media at all unless I really had something to say. Right. And so my posts were far and few in between. Now I stay on the damn phone. My husband gonna divorce me because I'm on the phone tweeting all the time and Instagramming all the time. But
it's a job.
It is a job. And no wonder people who live with their mama and just got out of college or high school are capable of doing it, all day long because they ain't got no bills. But no worries. But yeah, so I was pitching, and I remember one of the ladies at BET, when I was pitching, I was like, well, I've got a radio show and I've got this amount of listeners. She's like, yeah, we get it. You're great. Tammi Mack, wonderful. Woo. We're not looking for talk shows. I said, okay.
Wow.
Okay. But I probably pitched to BET 3-4 times, but I think that those networks they're looking for celebrities. They're looking for people who are already well known. So of course it became a time where I was like, I'm never going to get a talk show because nobody knows me. I've not hit big on social media, Right. But I've always felt like I have the talent. Like I have the ability to create and generate an audience. And then I thought, I had started throwing in like Arsenio Hall on my pitches. Like nobody knew who Arsenio Hall was.
Oh my gosh, the disgrace. What?
Nobody knew.
We were celebrating in the street when Arsenio Hall got a show.
And he took over nighttime television so much to where Johnny Carson had to stop.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I started pitching. And then I think I just got completely discouraged.
You think? Oh my gosh.
And I decided to let it go, if you will.
Yeah.
And I let it go, not to quit or to drop it, but to give myself a break, to refocus and to see what my next approach is going to be, because I never give up. And if I want something, I try. I'm from the hood, Felicia. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm straight hood. And if I want something, I'm trying to get it how I can get it at all costs. You know what I'm saying? Like aside from sleeping with people and robbing people,
right.
It ain't illegal.
Right. Right. But you have to be when it's in you. Yeah. When it's in you,
I had to sit back and figure it all out. And one of my girlfriends said to me, one of those nights when I was crying, going, I don't know, I've done this, I've done that, I can't figure it out, what's going on? And my girlfriend said, so you've tried everything, right? I said, well, I'm sure there's things I could try, but I just don't know. And she said, well, have you ever tried being still? And I looked at her like she was crazy. I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I got to look that up. I need instruction on how to be still, because I feel like if you're being still, then you're not being productive. Like, that's where my head was.
That's how we've been conditioned too.
Yeah, yeah. And so I had to figure out what being still meant and find it in the Bible to see where it applied there, and consult with some of my minister mentors to figure out if there is even a such thing as literally being still.
Yes.
And what I found was that in being still is where the work begins, not ends. And I did, and it was very, very hard to do. I had to make a conscious effort to do nothing. The way that I did it, and I'm not suggesting it for anybody, I'm just telling you how I did it. The way that I did it that I found worked for me was to only do things, going back to your agency, only do things that come to me. So I had decided that I was not going to do anything that I had to chase to do.
Oh, you're warming my heart right now. Yes.
I even dropped my agency, my commercial agency. I dropped my commercial agency. And I did continue to go on theatrical auditions for TV shows and things of that nature. But I stopped working on my talk show. I dropped my commercial agency, and I was making nice chunk of change doing commercials because I was getting about 5 or 6 a year. You know what I mean? But I felt like in order to be still, I had to commit to it for at least for a certain amount of time. And I committed to a month. I didn't go on any commercial auditions. I went on theatrical auditions. I worked at KJLH. I even turned down, like I put in my head a financial number for me in order for me to do a job. So like if I was doing a hosting job, I would only do it if it was X amount of money. And what I did was I said, I'm going to triple the amount that my rate is now. Mm-hmm. And if they don't want to hire me on that rate, I will not do the job. And I did that because I felt like it would take me away and force me to be still.
Yes.
You cannot imagine from being still how much you will find that you're worth and what your value is. I did that for a month and I never wanted to stop being still. I realized that I had value more than what I thought I did because I never thought people would pay 3 times the rate that I was getting. So, you know, if it was 500, it was now 15. If it was 1,000, it was now 3,000. I never thought in a million years that I was worth 3 times the number that I had already placed on myself.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I found out being still. That was one thing. Then my commercial agency called me after a month and was like, I don't want you to leave because we've been together for too long. I believe this separation calls for at the least a conversation and not an email. Mm. And one of the reasons why I dropped my commercial agency, I know people understand that I do radio, I host, and I'm also an actress. Well, you can't do that at one time. You can't be 3 different people. I'm only one person. Yes. And a lot of times I would lose my mind trying to hurry and go to a commercial audition and get to work on my radio show at 3:00 at the same time. It was driving me crazy. It was putting so much stress on me. And it's a good problem to have. Don't get it twisted. But it was stressful. And you have to, your boss is coming at you and your agent's coming at you and you're feeling like I can't do anything right. And so I was afraid to ask my boss at the radio station for leniency. I was afraid to ask my commercial agency for leniency because I didn't feel like I was worth it. I felt like I had to be at a certain level before I asked for these things.
Exactly.
And so when my agent said this requires a conversation, he said, what do you need? And I said, well, I need you not to send me on auditions from this time to this time. I need you not to, and I gave him a list of things that I needed that would make it work for me. And he said, absolutely. And I thought, oh,
yes.
What?
Yes.
And then the radio station, you know, I went and I asked them, I said, hey, is there any way we can work this out so that if I happen to be late, I can, you know, maybe voice track or something? And they said yes. So in being still, I found that I was worth more than what I thought I was worth.
Yes. And you get a lot of yourself back.
You get so much of yourself back, and you realize that you don't have to accept the things that you're accepting. And more importantly, you realize that in giving up things, you don't miss them at all, Felicia. You don't miss them.
Yes.
You don't miss them. They're somewhere in the Bible. And I'll be telling people, I don't know the quotes, but I know it'd be some stuff in the Bible.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there where he said he gonna take your 10 and make it 20 and 20.
Yes.
So he gonna multiply, something like that.
Yes.
You know, and it, like, being still was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I realized I was worth whatever it was I requested. And if the request was denied, it didn't even matter.
It didn't even matter.
Didn't even matter.
Yeah.
And so that being still, and yes, people paid triple what I asked.
Because they
absolutely they did.
They have to sense from you first. Uh-oh, we froze. Say it again.
I gotta get my hair done and my makeup done for this one. And there would be gigs that I would be like, I really don't want to go to this one. I'm gonna upcharge them even more. And they'd be like, okay. So I do believe that being still was the pinnacle of me getting, back to your question, of me getting my talk show, because literally I did nothing. And let me tell you what else I'd never done a day in my life.
What?
In my life, I'd never taken a 5-day vacation, ever.
Wow.
I'll take a vacation here, a vacation there, maybe a weekend. If it's 4th of July, I get the extra day. But I had never been off of radio for 5 days straight. Don't believe in it. Can't do it. I'm old school like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular moment in my life, my husband, Jackson, who's also in radio, said, well, we're going on the family cruise. And I was like, I'm not going on the family cruise. That's 5 whole days.
Yes.
And he was like, oh no, we're going on the family cruise. And I was like, you tell them we ain't going.
Mm-hmm.
And he paid for it. And there was nothing I could do about it. I didn't even know that he paid for it. And my aunt was like, well, yeah, Jackson paid y'all cruise off. Y'all good. I was like, we're not going. She was like, oh, yes, you are. And I went on the cruise for 5 days. And let me tell you this. The day that we got ready to get on the plane, Felicia, I got a phone call, because we had to fly to Houston from LA to get on the boat, because it was my family situation, whatever. Okay. But I get a phone call on the way to the airport from an executive at Fox Television. And they said, hey, your name came up in a meeting, and we were wondering if you were interested in this new platform we're doing, if you could create a talk show.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? What happened? Now, how you get my phone number? Which is, by the way, something I would have never asked. Right? I would have immediately said, yeah, talk show, yeah, goddamn right. Yes. But being still, the one thing that I had not done ever, had given me the patience and taken away my thirstiness to be able to say, what is it that you want me to do? Let me get back with you on that and see how I can facilitate something of a nature. So it wasn't like, yes, I'll do it, or what. I asked her, I said, how'd you get my phone number? She told me how she got my phone number. I said, okay, let me call you back. I called the person who gave her my phone number. I said, now, what is this about? Why didn't you decide to do it? Why'd you refer me? What's really going on? They explained it to me. I called her back. I said, now give me a rough estimate of what you guys are trying to do. And I said, well, you know, I am going on vacation. I'm getting on a plane right now. I will call you all when I get back. And if it's still available, if the opportunity is still available to me, then it's something I will definitely consider. The opportunity was available when I got back. We worked it out, and I ended up with a show on this new platform called Fox Soul. And I attribute it to God, and I attribute it to being still. I think I was in a place where I was prepared for that to happen. And one thing I realized in LA is that you think you're prepared for certain things, and you are not. And I was so happy that God prepared me for it, because if I lost it today, I would not care. If I lost it today, I would still feel like a winner. If I lost it today, I would still feel like I fulfilled God's purpose. If I lost it today, I would feel like I've done something for my people.
Yes.
And so that's a different kind of, that mentality hits different.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And I'm so thrilled we're having this conversation. I was really praying when I started this podcast that we get some juicy bits, and boy, have we ever. You're talking about peeling away the layers of being conditioned to be thirsty and not having the audacity to say no or find your worth in the scheme of things. But when you do, when you stop chasing, what you're chasing does come to you. What you're chasing is chasing you. So in being still, you give it an opportunity to come to you, as opposed to being upset about every single thing that you're not able to achieve. Now, I've learned this, let me tell you, the hard way.
Yeah. Well, that's how lessons come, hard.
The hard way. See my black eyes, boy, a hard way. Woo! But and when I hear someone talking about it, it just warms my heart, because it's so true. About 3 years ago, I got put in a situation where I couldn't move forward in anything. It was like everything that I submitted, for a job or for any opportunity, fell flat, to the point where there was nothing left for me to do but Black Women in Radio stuff and my podcasting stuff. Nothing. And on hindsight, that grew. So I had to, although I didn't want to be still.
Right.
Ain't nothing no put me on that be still.
Hard to do.
And I teach meditation, but I don't want to be still.
Now, I don't know about that, Felicia. Hold on now.
Look, it's called being human. I don't want to be still.
Right.
But I did have to take a step back and say, okay, where am I being guided? Because that's part of being still.
It is.
When you're resisting and going in one direction and God's trying to lead you in another direction, that's where you get all of the friction and the disappointment and all of that. But when you stop and start using your intuition to find out where you're being navigated, great things happen.
Yeah. And by be still, I don't mean do nothing.
Right. I'm glad you're saying that. Doesn't mean
that
can anybody imagine Tammy just like,
right.
No, it's not in your nature.
That's not what I mean. I mean, continue to do what you do, but be in a space where you do the things that you, number one, want to do and that you appreciate doing, and those things that make you happy. The things that make you happy, the things that fulfill you. That's being still. Being still is only committing to your personal happiness. And it is very hard to do, especially if you're a woman, because we're so consumed with everybody else's happiness.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, do you think, Tammy, we also, in essence, have a sense that there's lack? So if we don't accept this opportunity, then another one won't come along. Now, whether we're prepared to do that opportunity or have enough space to do that opportunity, we don't care. We'll throw ourselves in it and be a nervous wreck, trying to juggle a bunch of things. So that's not being still.
Yeah. I have so much respect for Amanda Seales, who walked away from the Real talk show. I have so much respect for Dave Chappelle, who walked away from, I don't know, $60 million talk show.
Yes.
You know, those are people who know their worth. Those are people who want to do things that make them happy, you know, and those are people who have confidence and who believe that there is something else. We Black people have to get out of that mentality.
Yes.
Black people have to get out of that mentality. If you don't bet on anything else, you have to be in a space where you can bet on yourself.
Mm-hmm. You absolutely do.
And my husband Jackson used to tell me that all the time, and I did not understand what it meant. I did not believe him. I did not want to listen to him. But if you can't bet on yourself, why would anybody else go in and ride hard for you? For what?
Absolutely.
You don't even think you can do it. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why I want to put my money and my, you know, emotional investment into you, and you don't even have it for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people can sense that. They can sense that in the way that you talk and present yourself. They can absolutely sense that.
Yeah. And I remember back in the day, Oprah Winfrey was talking about how she became the owner of her show. And I'm sure I'll jack up the story, but I'll try to tell it in a nutshell. Is she was up to sign a contract, and it was a pretty damn hefty contract. And her agent, or maybe her accountant, or somebody in her camp said, no, bet on yourself. Don't accept these pennies. Don't accept this money. Yes. Bet on yourself and tell them you want to own the show. And she said she was a little hesitant about it, but in the end, she bet on herself, and y'all, look what happened.
Yes.
Look what happened.
Absolutely. You know what? If no one walks away with any other information, I would love them to walk away with these tools that you just so generously shared. How to be in a space to receive the greater good as opposed to everything that comes your way. And you mentioned being still. You also mentioned knowing your worth. So you're not necessarily equating worth with dollar amounts, although it's a milestone or a gauge, but you're not saying that that's your absolute worth. Time and family, you've equated all of those areas into being still. So you've been able to figure out a nice balance for yourself to make yourself happy, because there are a lot of people who don't even know what happiness is because they're so busy chasing.
Yeah.
And you gotta slow it down a little bit to enjoy it.
You have to.
So how have you had, well, aside from COVID, have you had any vacations since then?
Girl, ain't nobody going on vacation right now. The most vacation we had was Jackson took me up the mountains and put a television in the car, and we had a drive-in movie.
I love it. I love it. Well, you know what? That's very creative. That's very creative, though.
I enjoyed it. You know, I like the outside, so I enjoy a little. And I'm a romanticist at heart, so it was wonderful for me. I was like, this hype. He was like, bring your snacks. So I brought my little cheeses and everything. So it was a beautiful night for me. I enjoyed it very much. But we haven't done anything else. I haven't even gone back home to Houston, which I normally do at least once a quarter, every other month or so, to check on my family. So no, I've been working really, really hard during COVID, because then the Black Lives Matter happens. And so I've been doing a lot of television in terms of for Fox. You know, I've been on in Fox DC, and then Fox, I think, San Francisco, and Fox Milwaukee, and Fox Houston, and Fox LA, reporting on the Black Lives Matter movements, and also promoting my talk show on Fox Soul. So it's been really hectic. And then at KJLH, I have to make sure that everybody's getting the information as it comes in, because as you know, Los Angeles has become one of the hot spots. And so we have to keep people abreast on everything that's closed and opened, and the stipulations that we're having around here. So that's been nonstop as well. So it's been a really, it's times like these that journalists are really, really busy.
Really
and so,
busy.
So I don't, I'm in the thick of things. This is one thing that I love about my career. I love election time. I love when things are happening globally that we have to cover and report. If you're a real journalist, it gives you this kind of high.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does.
I'm in the thick of things, and my talk show, boy, we got it all. We're covering it all, honey. And on my radio show, Stevie Wonder owns KJLH, so we definitely going in about equality for African Americans on KJLH.
Oh man, I got a couple of questions for you, and they're all rushing in my brain at once.
That's all right.
Let's just start with community, and where do you think we're going with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and civil rights 2020?
Mm-hmm. I think it's going in a good direction. You know, Confederate statues and flags are being removed. They never have been. Police reform policies are being put in place. Police are getting upset that the policies are being put in place and retiring. Yes. Happy about that. Because my assumption is that you're one of the bad ones and you're mad that you now have consequences. So, okay, get the hell out.
Right.
I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. Come on, get them all out. Mm-hmm. So I think it's moving in a very good direction. I don't know about the Aunt Jemima stuff and the Uncle Ben's rights.
Yes.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I mean, nice gesture, I guess, but really we want equality and we want financial retribution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I've always said if there's going to be some changes with the advertising part of it, let those families, Black families, get the money that you are receiving from their images or something like that. You know, you don't have to change the box.
One of the reasons why I don't care too much about that, Felicia, is because all of those characters are fictional. Mm-hmm. They aren't real people.
Right.
So I don't care. I don't care about Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima. They don't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't exist. I don't care.
I do. I say give some of that money to the Black community in some way. Let someone get.
You know what I found out today, though? That I love. Oh my God. Netflix is putting $100 million into a Black-owned bank. So that got me really excited. Now, I don't know what Black-owned bank, because I didn't know there were any. But
Atlanta has one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Netflix has decided to put money into a Black-owned bank. And I thought, that's the kind of change we're looking for. Mm-hmm. Not Uncle Ben on the box.
Exactly.
Put your money in our banks.
Yeah, I like that
kind of thing. I don't care if you call it a master bedroom or a primary bedroom or another bedroom or the second bedroom. Just let me buy the damn house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you are denying me the opportunity to purchase the house, what I care about what you call a room?
Yes. Yes. Very true. Very, very true. And we've got so much catching up to do with even other minority groups in the United States. We've got a lot of catching up to do. And we certainly want our share of all of America because we are the fabric of that. So the whole retribution thing, when BET's founder came out and talked a little bit about what the retribution should be, I
said $1 trillion.
It struck me as interesting because of the way he's handled his company as well, and many others. When we are in position to own companies, we tend to sell the companies, and they're usually to white people. And it's unfortunate because we still, as a culture, get the short end of the stick because now
Black people can't afford to buy it. But.
Exactly. Yeah. Even as a group.
But I don't have a problem with Black companies selling their companies because I think it's a part of the fabric of commerce in America. Mm-hmm. Several companies white companies sell their companies all the time. Yes. It's a way to gain more capital and create other opportunities and create other companies and rebuild. So like even Bob Johnson now, he's into the streaming service now. Mm-hmm. So he has the capital to make that happen and to build that and to become a success in a whole nother realm. So I don't necessarily, I'm okay with it. Do I wish that they would sell it to a Black person? Of course I do. I don't know what that means for them financially, though, and I don't know if maybe that was a consideration because I'm not in the boardroom. So I don't even know if that was a consideration that he sat down with Puffy and Puffy was like, look, Bob, I love to buy, but I ain't paying that much.
Right.
So I don't know what the conversations in the boardroom was. So I don't want to, I don't want to judge a Black man who's done such great things for Black people from a standpoint that I have no knowledge of,
I would really like to sit down and have a conversation with him. That's on my bucket list because I want to know, I do know, business is business and you're in business to make money. I get that. But what about the legacy part of it where you're building a, legacy for the Black culture? You are also making money off of Black culture in order to build business. So what portion gets some stability, I guess, is what I would love to know. So once you sell it,
those are great questions.
Yeah, once you sell it to, it doesn't matter what race the person is, but if they are not in, the value isn't Black culture, then we're 10 years, 20 years behind where we were when you were handling the business. Because now it's like, well, who do we go to? We don't have anything of our own. So I would really love to see more rich folks building legacies and allowing them to stand as opposed to, get the Black culture all hyped. Oh yeah, we've got, this. And then once they make it big, okay, well now we don't got it. What do we have now?
But I think I think it's on us to start building it.
It absolutely is. Absolutely.
We can't put the responsibility on
one
Black.
Absolutely. Totally agree. One Black person, one Black company, because they're trying to get ahead. Totally get it. Totally get it. But I would love to see more legacy minded.
I would love to interview Bob Johnson. I would be in on that interview. I would be watching because I would definitely want to know the answers to those same questions.
Yes, yes. Well, you know what? Oh my gosh, we talked almost an hour, Tammi.
That's all right. I'm here.
Oh, you are so wonderful. I am so, I was just so thrilled to be able to get you on. And I know that you're busy because like you said, you've got 3 different crafts going on, plus
well, the
family
acting has been kicked to the curb so far because ain't nobody bit now, but hopefully that'll happen soon.
Which tell me about your role as Auntie alongside Kiki on Star. Yes. Let me tell you, I love that character. Oh my gosh, I'm just rolling.
That I got that role in the midst of my being still.
So hence everybody, we all need to be still a little bit more.
I forgot about being still. I might need to bring that back in my life.
I love it.
So it was a wonderful thing to work with Lee Daniels and Keke Palmer and Tasha Smith, who directed that scene and gave me such wise instruction and encouraged me. And it was just great to have 3 episodes on such a television show, and I pray for more.
Well, I love your character, man. I tell you, when I see a little bit of Tammi coming out of a character, I'm on the floor. I'm like, yes. Oh my goodness. You also produced a show, right? You were a one-woman show, but did you play 3 characters? Why is that ringing in my head?
I don't know why 3, because I played about 30.
30, good.
Not really 30. I'm exaggerating, but it was at least 10 to 13. Yeah.
So maybe 3 is my number. No.
Yeah, maybe 3 is your number. I'm gonna give you the 13. 3 for 13.
Wow. So how does one pull that one off? Don't answer that. Tell us, where can we find it?
You cannot find it.
Okay.
On purpose, intentionally.
Okay.
I was trying to think, are there excerpts? There may be one excerpt on my Facebook page, but yeah, you cannot find it, and that's very intentional.
Okay.
Because the show won quite a few awards, and I want to make sure that I maintain the rights to it, and no one has access to it. And prayerfully, the show will be up again when theater happens again at some point.
At some point, yes.
But yeah, I wrote it and I produced it, and it was a one-woman show, and we toured with it across the nation. So I was very excited about it and happy about it. And it's actually, it was a woman's empowerment piece. So it was a piece that kind of showed women to look on the inside of themselves for their worth and figure out what it is that they're doing wrong that contributes to the thought process that you have to have a certain type of man. Yeah. So it's highly relationship driven.
Yes.
It's relationship driven. It's not it has nothing to do with social causes or anything. But I love Bag Lady because it's me. It's funny, it's sad, and it touches on the core of your soul in terms of you discovering where you went wrong in life. And oftentimes the place we go wrong is a place that we had absolutely no control of, and that's childhood.
Whew, and don't we reenact that throughout our adulthood if we don't pinpoint it, find it, pull the root out, and grow up?
Yeah. And it's you talked about my writing earlier. It's definitely a full circle moment production. So whatever happens in the beginning of that play, it comes back and it happens at the end too. So I enjoyed the work. At first, I thought I was going to be showcasing myself, but then I saw that it wasn't really about me after the women started writing and tweeting and calling the radio station, and we would stop the shows and they would want more, and we would do 15 more shows and they would all sell out. And then we went across the country and it was selling out, and women were really tapping into those relationships that I'd had with men and seeing themselves in it. And that's when I realized, oh snap, this is not even about me. God is using me, because that's what he does. He doesn't use you for you. He uses you for his people. So anything you do, it's never for you. It's for the benefit of God's people.
And I call that being in alignment, you know, between that and being still enough so that you can hear direction. And once you know you're in alignment, those wonderful things come. They come.
But it's hard. It's not a simple task.
No,
you know, it's not a simple task at all, because we're always trying to figure it out, you know.
And we always want control too.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very difficult to hand the wheel over to God. You know, people say, Jesus, take the wheel, but you still be holding on to it. He'd be like, well, I'm waiting. You know, don't take it right now. You know?
I got it. Oh my God.
Really want him to take the wheel, because it gets real when he takes the wheel.
It gets real. And you find, that's when you find your faith. I believe that's when you find your faith, because you've got to trust in the process.
Yeah, buddy. And it is a process. Make no mistake about it.
Let me ask you one more question. When it comes to valleys in our lives, how did you handle, because we were just talking about faith and trusting, how did you handle the valley in your life? Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about it, because not
well. I'm very emotional. I'm very sensitive. And when I feel like I'm not winning, or when I feel like I don't have a solution and an answer to a challenge, it hits me really, really hard. And I could be in the bed crying for days. I darken my room. I make sure all the windows are closed. I eat. I wish I didn't eat when I got depressed, but I eat when I get depressed. I eat, I cry, I like sulk in the bed. And it could take me days to get up out of it. And it's usually something, I found that I cannot look at social media when that happens.
Yeah.
That keeps me in the bed for a few more days. But for me, it's usually coming up with something that's a productive solution. And because I'm accustomed to working, I will normally find a project in my valley.
Yes.
So if I'm going through something, I will find something creatively artistic to help me deal with it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm onto that project, and I'm all of a sudden up out of my valley, and I'm working it out and through my art. So being creative and being an artist has been very important to me in my life, because that's kind of what I cling to in my valleys. Obviously, you know, my family, but there are times when no one has the answers.
No, and they're asking you a gazillion answers and you don't have the answer. And that's even more frustrating.
Yeah. And so I find that if just one thing in my head can click, and I can start working on it, and then I'll get out of the valley and things will start picking up. COVID has really put me in a funky space. I thought being off and not going literally physically into work would put me in a place to where I would be working out twice a day and cooking healthy meals and you know, doing fun projects with the hubby and stuff like that. And that has not happened. I have been in the bed. I have cooked horrible meals. I have piled up on the sugar, and I have not even walked to the corner to get my mail. So exercise has not been a part of this COVID situation for me. And in the beginning, you know, us Black folk, we think we had it. So I thought I had it. So I was like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not going nowhere. I was just like taking all this echinacea and lime and lemons and orange peels and all kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I think the space that the world is in right now, where we have to stay at home, it can definitely mess with you mentally. And I've felt it. I've definitely felt it for sure. And I think what's helping me to come out of it is to being able, number one, to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and solutions regarding that. So that's helped a lot. And now I'm forced to write these monologues for my talk show every night. So that's kind of like a journal. And therapists say journals help. So
writing helps.
So that's kind of like a journal. So, and I have started journaling. Look, I always start journaling once a year. And when I picked up my journal this year, it was like May 24th. And I realized the last time I journaled was last year, May 24th. I was like, what's going on in my life in May? And I feel like I got to pull out the journal in May.
So funny. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it's interesting. So, and also I think pep talks help me. I don't know if that helps other people, but I cuss myself out a lot. And I'm like, you know, because I know I have a God-given talent. Yes. And I know that he wants me to use it. That's why he gave it to me. And so sometimes I have to pump myself up. Like I have to literally talk to myself and say, you know, like literally I cuss myself out when I get too far gone into my valley.
Yes.
And I find that the only way to really get out of it is to stand up. You know, you have to stand up. And so
metaphorically and figuratively.
Yeah, definitely. And physically, because I'm in the bed, all my windows, you have to stand up. That's step one, stand up. Step two, walk to the curtain and pull it open.
Yes. Get some fresh air.
It's step by step, you know, and with each step, you just have to, I'm cussing myself out the whole steps. I'm like, bitch, open the window, you know. That's how I talk. That's my relationship with myself.
Hey, you're your own coach, you know. Coach said.
I know other people like, you should be saying queen. Queen is too soft for me. I've already told you what kind of teachers raised me. Queen is way too soft for me. Queen will have me sitting back in the bed eating bonbons. I know I'm a Black queen. But to myself, I got to get up out of the bed and do something. So every month since COVID, I've been like, oh, I'm gonna start my workout. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
Monday. We'll see. And I go to the grocery store and I shop with intentions of cooking healthy. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
One step, one day at a time.
Yeah. I do give myself permission to feel what I'm feeling.
Yes, and it's important.
Yeah. But I also force myself to get out of it. And sometimes it takes longer than others. And sometimes it doesn't take long at all. I just have to acknowledge that I'm in that space and tell myself, get up. And I know I don't want to make it seem like that's easy for people. I want to make clear it is not easy.
It is not. Something as simple as standing up or pulling the shades open.
Yeah,
it can be a monumental task. Yeah. Well, I asked for two reasons. One is because I'm going to have I don't want to call it a panel, but I'm going to have a group of Black women in radio on to talk about how they're coping with job loss. So that's one. And then the other is that I'm going to do a virtual meditation seminar and speaking to, people who are trying to deal with COVID and having all of these loss of jobs, relationships. Domestic violence has skyrocketed. I know here in Atlanta, I don't know about anywhere else, so that's why I asked, and thank you so much for sharing, because people do need to know that when you're in the valley, often you're the only one that can get yourself out. I don't care how many therapists you have.
Yeah.
You're usually the only one that can get yourself out of it. So it's important, I think, for people to hear another's experience so that they don't feel like they're alone. It's like, I don't know why I can't pull the shade open. I don't know why I can't go outside and get some fresh air, but just know the difference and learn, like to get that coach on. And when Tammy's coach started to, barking in your ear, get your ass up, then that's your cue. So thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Because a lot of people want to share the shiny, happy stuff, but I very much want to talk about real life, and it ain't easy in so many different areas.
No. And in order to succeed, you have to fail. So
I hate that part, don't you? I like to just succeed and keep going.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be very nice.
Oh man. Well, I want to respect your time of taking you over a little bit. I'm so sorry for that.
It's all good. I carved it all out for you, Felicia.
Oh, beautiful. I have so enjoyed talking to you. And
I've enjoyed talking to you as well.
With all of this, we've also asked you to become our 2020 Black Women in Radio influencer. So we are going to.
Okay.
Yes. So we're going to feature you all through the month of July. And thank you so much for accepting.
And the people don't get tired of me, Felicia?
No. Fabulousness is fabulousness. What can we do? There's nothing else to do.
Yeah, I love that there are so many Black women in radio today. It's a wonderful thing. I love LaWanda. I love Michelle Wright I listen to. There are just so many, fantastic with Pat Prescott. Oh God, the list goes on and on. I'm really so happy that there are so many women. Deja Vu. It's just so many women, and it's a blessing to be able to see New York, who's in Birmingham. So I just got to shout out Nina. I think she's in Dallas. They're just, these women are amazing, and I hope that they continue the trajectory of being a voice in broadcasting.
Absolutely. And you and I both know it's not easy to do. So I'm hoping that this platform will help encourage people and give them new ideas and, keep them, be a part of keeping them up on their game, even if it's just emotionally, I would really love us to fit that bill. So thank you so much for being a part of that.
Kudos to you, Felicia, for shining our lights.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Now, before you go, I want to do word of association really quick.
Okay.
You ready?
Mm-hmm. Take your time.
R&B or hip hop?
Hip hop.
Sports car or luxury car?
Luxury.
Religious or spiritual?
Spiritual.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Non-fiction. Yeah. I like to read nonfiction.
TV or the gym?
Girl, bye. Golden Girls all day.
I love it. Heels or flip-flops?
Heels.
And let's see. I did Beecher Mountains. Oh, weave or natural?
Natural weave.
Natural weave. I love it. I love it. Now, do you have one for another Black woman in radio? Next time I have this word association game, you want to add to it? I've gotten some good ones, boy.
Mornings or afternoons.
Okay.
And I say that because I've done the morning show and the afternoon show.
Okay.
But, let's see, what else?
Maybe one more.
Okay, one more. Shrimp or steak.
Oh, I got that one. I have shrimp or steak. I forgot to ask you, wine or shots?
Neither, because I don't drink.
Neither, or water. Okay.
Water. It'll be a water. It'll be a water.
Speaking of which, you cook. Let me tell you something. Sometimes when I'm scrolling and I see how you're entertaining, I'm like, dang, I need to get to know Tammi. I want to be right there. Oh my goodness.
It's so funny because I was, Jackson doesn't like to eat out. And I thought it was because he want to save money, but I realized. Who ordered the blackened chicken with shrimp, sweet potatoes, and a walnut cranberry salad? And who ordered the fried seafood platter with fries? Oh, just so you know, this is not a restaurant. And then I actually cooked everything. Let me top off these Red Lobster cheddar baked biscuits that I make. Yes, baby, yes. Don't play with my yo-yo. Don't try to play me out. Fried shrimp platter on a Sunday, and the blackened chicken and shrimp with sweet potato. Happy Sunday. Well, he doesn't want to eat out because he would rather me cook. He likes my food better than the eat out food.
Let me tell you, honey, I would be there, and I love eating out. But looking at some of the meals, and especially before COVID, when you were entertaining, I was like, I want to be her friend.
I love entertaining. I'm from the South, and that's what we do best. We are hospitable people. And yeah, we entertaining fools, especially in my family. We will entertain. If you break your toe, we'll be like, girl, let's throw a party.
Well, I love it, honey, just watching it. But let me tell you, I'll be salivating over here. I'm like, dang, that looks good.
It is good. It's real good.
Cooking show coming up?
No.
No?
People keep asking, but no. I don't.
We'll let you get quiet and see what comes up.
Right, yeah. My brother cooks way better than I do. And he's a vegan.
Is he single? No, I'm kidding.
He is he's very single. But if he would do a cooking show with me, I would do a cooking show. But he lives in Houston and I live in LA, so I don't know if that's possible. And it's always hard to get him to do something. So, but yeah.
That's cool. Well, honey, I would watch. I mentioned it because I would totally watch.
I do have an idea for a cooking show that I will probably be pitching. So hopefully somebody will pick it up.
See, I'm just saying, you get a little quiet, it might sprout. We'll see.
Right, exactly.
Well, Tammi, thank you so very much. Thanks for your time. Thank you for sharing your talent and wisdom. And of course, we'll be following you. Tell us how we can follow you, and tell us about Fox Soul, how we can follow that really quick before you go.
So you can hear me every day on the radio in Los Angeles at kjlhradio.com, or you can download the KJLH app, and I'm on afternoons, 3 p.m. Pacific. And you can watch me every night on Fox Soul. So you just download the Fox Soul app. So it's FOXSOUL, like Soul Train. And I'm on every night, 8:30 Pacific. So it's a little late if you're on the East Coast. And you can also log on to foxsoul.tv, or we're on Fox Now, Fire TV, YouTube, Roku. If you go on YouTube, you can actually, because the shows are live, you can actually chime in during the show, and we read your comments in the middle of the show. So those are the two spaces that I'll be in the upcoming days. And hopefully you'll be able to see me on your television somewhere. I'll either appear on a commercial or a television show, God willing.
National television show. Absolutely. I love it. Well, thanks so much. You're a beautiful light, and I appreciate getting to know you.
Oh, I wanted to say the Fox Soul, the Tammi McLeay show has been picked up in San Francisco, on San Francisco TV on KTVU. So you can watch the Tammi McLeay show actually on KTVU at 3 p.m. If you're in the Bay Area. So
you go, girl.
We'll see where this goes. We'll see where this thing goes.
We'll keep riding it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again. Thanks for going over with me too.
Oh, girl, please.
Conversation.
I love what you do, Felicia. So, whatever you need, I'm down.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thanks so much. I'll be talking to you really soon.
Be careful as you exit your VIP seats. They will be waiting for you next Wednesday. We're going to London. We're talking to Dope Black Mums Karina White. Make sure you subscribe to Black Women in Radio podcast on all social media, and check out our website at www.blackwomeninradio.com.